How are you, Heinrich? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
So how was your day?
Yeah, it's been alright. Public holiday here today, so just had a nice little relaxing day with the family, and yeah, back into the normal swing of things again tomorrow.
Great, great. So Heinrich, I do understand that you have you know a big coaching experience and also great background pertaining to cricket with New Zealand. So I would like to hear it from you. Just tell me how your journey has been.
Yeah, look, it's been an interesting sort of 8 years since we moved across from South Africa to New Zealand. I came across in 2013. Pretty much felt like winning the lotto when I became the Stags coach. I come from a humble playing background in South Africa. I only played a handful of first-class games, and then was privileged to work at the University of Pretoria for almost 10 years. And then spent a bit of time coaching in the South African pipeline, coach first class side in South Africa. And then, yeah, it felt like winning the lotto to come across and coach the Stags. Yeah, some big players playing for the Stags, so it was a daunting task in the beginning. The likes of your Adam Milnes, your Ross Taylors, so it was a daunting task in the beginning, but, that was sort of our journey to New Zealand. And obviously now we've been here for 8 years. I've got two little boys that are born in New Zealand now, so they're New Zealand residents or citizens. And then, yeah, we've become New Zealand residents. So, yeah, it's come a nice full circle.
Great, great. So any young talents or any upcoming talents that you would like to name from your region?
Yeah, look, there's the Auckland environment. There's quite a few boys that's played a bit of international cricket, but also that are on the cusp of hopefully spending a lot of time on that black cap side. The likes of your Glenn Phillips. Glenn's obviously made his Test debut against Australia just a couple of months ago, or feels like a couple of months ago, but start of the year. And then someone like a Mark Chapman has been in and around that side for quite a while. Lockie Ferguson's obviously one of the quickest bowlers around the world at the moment. He plies his trade for us, and yeah, we're very lucky. They're not that young anymore, but very lucky to have the calibers of players like a Martin Guptill and a Colin Monroe that plays for us on a regular occurrence. And it's whenever those boys are playing, it's I'm probably missing the big one at the moment, aren't I? Kyle Jamieson plays for us, and he's had a fantastic summer for the Black Caps. Made his debut in a couple of pretty much all the formats. So it was great to see him eventuate some of his talent, and he's only hopefully touching the surface around what he's going to be like as a cricketer eventually.
Great. So Henrik, I'll go ahead and ask you three important questions, which is more related towards the current situation of cricket against the global pandemic. And obviously, I've been speaking about the same thing with other multiple elite cricket players. So obviously, because it's something which I'm representing all the cricket audience towards the elite coaches like you, and it's more about understanding the current situation, and if there is some kind of special advice or guidance wherein a particular coach can say that, okay, due to corona you can't do this, you can do that. So there are multiple things. Let's start with the question number one, is that cricket versus corona. That is what the question number one is. So when I'm talking about cricket versus corona, there is a particular guidelines which has come into the picture from ICC, and yeah, there are like 6 different points. I don't know how much you are aware about it, but there are few pointers which creates a lot of concern as to what a player should do when all these restrictions are in place. So the point number one was the umpire has to wear the gloves, and the umpire cannot go ahead and carry the hat or the shades of the bowler. And then also we come up with the point of the players cannot celebrate, so no high fives, nothing. So, and the most important point is not using of saliva or sweat. So the question is like, okay, already we do understand that the game is slowly drifting towards the betterment of batsmen. So the batsmen who are coming into the picture are very talented, and then they also get great willows that you are just, not even middling the ball and it's going out of the park. And then you have power plays in picture. So now that you're taking away this saliva and sweat factor, it kind of may not be in the in your A and Z region wherein you morely believe in the bounce of the pitch, but when we are talking about the subcontinental region or the African region where the cricket is played and the reverse swing plays a lot of factor. So
Yeah.
that particular thing, that particular point about not using the saliva or the sweat takes away the reverse swing from the game. So your take on that, Henrik, I would like to understand what do you think about it?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, isn't it? And like you say, there's obviously been a fair amount of deliberation, from players and coaches and administrators across the board at the moment around the whats and the ifs and the whats and the maybes. But look, at the end of the day, like you say, you can. I think the key thing from a coaching perspective is making sure that um, at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that we understand what the rules are and the guidelines are, and then ultimately, as a big part of the philosophy that I'm about is trying to allow players to play what's in front of them, and they've got to be adaptable. They've got to read the situation, and if those are the sort of guidelines that are out there for us, it's nothing different than any other day when we rock out there and 10 for 2, you got to play a certain way, and 200 for 2, you got to play a certain way. So I mean, that's sort of the approach that I'll take to it. I mean, we're never going to totally agree on all the regulations that's going to come out. And I think that's just, part and parcel of what we're going to deal with. But even if you look at some of the bylaws and some of the laws in cricket at the moment, you can find some of those, and we'll all have our own opinion around whether they should be there or they shouldn't be there. DRS creates such a conversation point on its own. So I think it's from a coaching perspective, it's more the environment that you create as a coach to say, look, it is what it is. Understand what the permutations are and what it looks like. But at the end of the day, let's find a way, to make it work in our favour. And like you say, obviously when you play in the subcontinent, reverse swing plays a huge part. And I know there's been some calls now from, I saw Bumrah was the latest one talking about there has to be some sort of ointment or ball shine or something that we've got to try and put on the ball to still aid the bowlers to have a little bit of assistance. I mean, the points you make around, the good bats, the small ground, the power plays, it's all valid. But at the end of the day, those are the parameters that we probably dealt with. And look, at the end of the day, this has been it's been an unprecedented, last 3 months, hasn't it? So look, I think everyone's pretty much biting at the bit to try and get out there again. It's how weird is it going to be if we're going to see international cricket and there's no crowds? You talk about not celebrating. I mean, you look at someone like Kohli. I mean, he lives to play in front of the big crowds and jeers them up, and they jeer him up. To do to play the innings that he does, and I mean that's the sort of showmanship that we've become used to. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but look, I'm looking forward to it. It's a different challenge. It's going to be a different coaching challenge to make sure we keep our players on task, find different ways and methods to deal with things. There'll be challenges, but look, there's some normal challenges on a day-to-day basis, and trying to prepare your players for them to go out there and be competitive on a consistent basis, and hopefully come the end of the day, be in a good position.
Great, great. So coming to the other point which I would like to make is that most, like, I do understand on your part of the side the cricket is already started. Like I got news from the region of Australia that they are already starting cricket in some part of the region. So I do understand that you are already active, but then way over in India and other countries over here. So it has been a major hit. So especially from where I belong, that is Maharashtra, it has been a major hit. So because of this major hit kind of thing, people are skeptical to start cricket. But how, I would say, what would be the basic practice parameters for a cricket player? Because a cricket player, I do have some questions coming up with the cricket player saying, what, sir, I do understand that you want us to come to the practice, but we don't want to keep our lives on risk and practice.
Yeah.
So that is one thing which they are telling me. So they are very keen to do the practice indoors. So with you, what are the kind of drills or kind of practice points which you suggest for a batsman or a bowler to do indoors, even if that person is alone?
Yeah, look, at this stage, like you say, we've been fortunate in New Zealand where I think it's been 9 or 10 days now where there's been no new corona cases. So, that's a good sign for the country moving forward. We've slowly moved into a level 2 situation where we can now train in small groups. And to be fair, we haven't even done that. We've just been doing one-on-one stuff, and slowly but surely, again, trying to build people's loads up a little bit. Bowlers hasn't bowled for 2.5, 3 months. You're talking about guys who've come off averaging 40, 45 overs a week, now not bowling for 3 months. So, trying to get their bodies accustomed to that sort of stuff again. But I think, again, the expectation management from a coaching perspective is huge now. A lot of players are going to feel like they're behind the 8 ball, and they would want to try and run again before they can stand up, before they, crawl, stand up, walk slowly, jog, and then run, isn't it? If you look at a nice little progression. So from us, it's really trying to understand what are we preparing for. So when's the first sort of cricket game that you're looking to play? At this stage, there's obviously no cricket in the winter scheduled, with international cricket being cancelled, and hence in domestic cricket in New Zealand we're moving into winter. So we're preparing as if we're playing the second week in October, which that's a nice little period for us, isn't it? We got 16 to 20 weeks to really get guys first and foremost fit, and then trying to build up their loads, whether it is from a volume perspective hitting cricket balls, or from a volume perspective bowling cricket balls, and then slowly but surely we'll start adding some skill. So the skill stuff is pretty much on the back of what we identified from last season, and going through the 3 different formats that we participated in. So just we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We've got some seriously good and classy players. So it's challenging them in a way to say, do we have different methods? Can we adapt our skill to play a different way if the situation requires it?
Right, right. So that's great, and interesting point that you made, that that is something which I also agree completely, that for a player who has left a game on a high note before this pandemic hit the entire world. So some player who is doing a great batting, or was in a very great rhythm of bowling, was taking wicket consistently, and suddenly this block, or the stoppage of the game, and then you are not touching the ball, or you're not on the field, or you're not bowling again, or you're not batting again, you're not middling the ball as much as you used to. So all those factors come into the picture, and that player who have, you there, right?
Are you back on?
Yeah, sorry, lost you for a bit.
All
So
good.
uh, coming to my last question, which mostly doesn't relate to where you belong from, because you guys are already starting the cricket, but over here in India we are just trying to get stable, and trying to think that, okay, next week would be the best part to start cricket, or maybe next week that would be the best part to start cricket. So I do understand that you might have a fair bit of ideas from the news, that what are the situations around the world, be it from India or US or whatever it is. So what is your perception? When should the cricket start in regions like India?
Yeah, it's a tough question, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, there's probably no right answer. But I think it's just trying to do the sensible thing, and making sure that it's pretty safe to do it. And again, I think there's so many guidelines out there. But it's also really making sure that first things first. People's lives are way more important than any sporting event. This is obviously our livelihood, and it's what we do every day. But in the same breath, we do this because of the people. So, coaching is, cricket's the bus that we drive, but at the end of the day, it's the people inside the bus that makes it all worthwhile. So, it's just making sure that look, at the end of the day, you understand, where things are at, and hopefully, there's a vaccine, not too far around the corner. And look, I don't think life's ever going to be normal again as we used to know it, but let's hope that life becomes sort of normal again for all of us to start getting back into a bit of a routine around, the Friday nights, being able to watch a bit of cricket on TV, which we're all sort of longing for, isn't it? A bit of live sport on a Friday or Saturday night, and getting back into that sort of routine. Get the kids out there playing and enjoying all kinds of sport, so that they can grow up and just enjoy life a little bit more than trying to be stuck at home the whole time, which is it's been a pretty tough ride for the last couple of weeks.
Right, Henrik. So, have you ever happened to have a chance to come to India or something like that?
Yeah, I've been to India 4 or 5 years ago on a New Zealand A tour. We played at Vizag, which was awesome. A great little experience. One day cricket we competed nicely, but unfortunately in the 4-day games we were taught a couple of lessons, which highlighted a couple of areas for us to come back home to and work nice and hard on. But then also we've hosted India over here for the last 2 years, the Indian A side, and it was fantastic to see those players come over here in some different conditions again, and expand and grow their games.
Great. And any chance of coming to Maharashtra?
Yeah, happy days, man. I'd love to come back to India. It's such a cool place. It's totally different to what we obviously used to over here, or what I was used to back in South Africa. But look, it's as if I walk around there just because I'm looking different to everyone else, they assume that you do something in cricket, and you get overhauled with people wanting to ask questions and wanting to just get around you. Unfortunately or fortunately, whichever way you look at it, Shane Bond was our head coach, so it attracts a lot of attention, man. So I got a nice little insight into what that life is about, when you are a superstar in that part of the world. But it's good fun over there, and just love the passion of the Indian people out there, just loving cricket and wanting to be involved in the game. That doesn't matter whatever capacity, which is awesome.
Right. So, Henrik, what I'll be doing is, I do understand that you have a fair bit of idea of what Maharashtra cricket possesses, but I would be talking about a couple of profiles who are Maharashtra cricket's first-class players, and also they have represented IPL at certain level. So, just give me a heads up. I'm going to share my screen, and just give me a heads up if you can see the screen.
Yep, not there yet, but it just says it's started sharing. Yep, all good.
Okay, so I do understand that we already know one player who is already into the Indian international squad, that is Kedar Jadhav. So let's talk about him first. Like, what's your take on him? Like, what do you find about him? Is there any kind of funny side? I do understand, like, he's a very unorthodox player, both with the bat and the ball, but a very talented one. So what's your take on him?
Yeah, brilliant. The way he's obviously taken the world by storm, and like you say, obviously a little bit different, but I mean, that's where the game of cricket is leading to at the moment, isn't it? Especially in the shortest formats. You get guys who come up and do unorthodox things, and those are the sort of players that stand out. But it just shows the mental capacity that those guys have, the way they believe in themselves, to go out there and be different, but trust that they'll be good at it. It's a great trait to have, and it's something as coaches that we try and piggyback on with some of our other players who potentially are more skilled or more talented, but they don't believe in themselves quite as much as these guys who are a little bit unorthodox. Not necessarily always all the skill, but the self-belief is massive.
Right. So I'll just go to this particular profile, because when you're talking about Indian A side, this guy is already representing Indian A side, and he has been a very great talent to talk about, be it from Maharashtra cricket perspective or the Indian A side perspective. He has great numbers. So your takes on him over his batting? Like, he's a top order batsman, and he is already been in this last season with CSK. Unfortunately, because of the batting strength that Dhoni possesses in this team, he didn't have a chance to give a show to us, but then he's still waiting for his opportunity.
Yeah, no, I remember him over the last couple of Indian A series. He's played against us quite regularly. Yeah, look, there's so many good players in that Indian A side, across the board. Not just, Gaikwad, but there's quite a few other players too. And again, it just highlights, like you say, the guy's not, he's played a lot of cricket already for a 23-year-old. He's represented India A on overseas trips, and he scored runs consistently, hasn't he? So. And then that's the makeup of the domestic circuit over in India. Look, it's something that I'd love to get involved with at some stage. There's how many first class sides with these players just turning out runs on a regular occurrence. So to make it in the Indian setup is obviously once you get to the Indian side, if you do that, you've got to do something. You've got to do something really special, or be a real special talent. To be the best of the best in a massive system, and hopefully at some stage in my career I could come over there and spend a bit of time in one of the regions, and hopefully unearth another couple of these quality players that'll take the cricketing world by storm.
Right, great. So moving on to the other guy, like I would only speak about few guys because I don't want you to speak about the entire team because there are multiple talents, but only few guys to pick in. So the other guy who has been around and he has been, as good as Ruturaj Gaikwad, he's Ankit Bhavne, and he has also scored some decent amount of runs in the domestic cricket. And if we have a look at it, he has already played for, he's already playing for Maharashtra cricket, and then he's also represented India Blue in Champions Trophy, and he has also recently joined Delhi Capitals. So your take on him after looking at his numbers?
Yeah, again, brilliant. For any player who's scored almost 20 first class hundreds, has obviously got a real understanding of what it takes to not spend a long time out in the middle and compile an innings, but also the ability to read the game, isn't it? Quality conversion rate. So yeah, look, again, like you say, there's probably quite a few of these guys that are there and thereabouts that play state cricket in that Indian setup. Who, if they get the opportunity, who knows what they'll do. If you average 51 in first class cricket, obviously you've shown that you can. You understand what side of the blade needs to be the front side and where to compile your runs. With it's beautiful to see that the system keeps turning out the quality players that it does.
Right. So yeah, we do have a certain amount of most of the players who are getting an IPL break, like Rahul Tripathi and Nikhil Nayak and Shrikant Munde. So moving on to the other guy who had an IPL break way back in 2012 under the mentorship of Shane Warne, and at certain point some people might think that okay, because he is his brother, he is vouching for him, but then his name is on that list, so I would have to talk about him. So that is my brother Sayeed Fallah, and he has the record of being the highest wicket taker of Maharashtra, and also he is the highest wicket left-hander bowler to be the highest wicket taker of India. So your take on him, looking at his numbers, what do you think about him, Henrik?
Yeah, being a seamer in the Indian setup, I suppose is hard work, isn't it? So if you've compiled 287 first class wickets, then you've obviously done your time. Like I said earlier, I've been privileged to spend a bit of time in India, and look, bowling on some of those wickets. It's hard work as a seamer. You're talking about India Red playing India Blue and stuff like that, and watching some ping pong games when we were over there, and they were playing on the different sorts of clay, which is obviously figured out now. If you play on the black clay, the ball doesn't turn necessarily. If you play on the red clay, the ball's turning sideways, isn't it? So again, understanding the conditions you play on, and being a seamer, and picking up 280 odd first class wickets, it's no small feat, and that's the beauty of the short form, isn't it? One over or one spell make or break someone. You bowl the last over, you get it right. You're the hottest thing on the planet at the moment. same bowler could bowl the same over and get it wrong, and it could be the end of his career in short form cricket. So look, it's your brother's obviously had a decent first class career, and well, hopefully with this little break, I see he's 34. Hopefully with this little break, he can extend that career a little bit longer.
Right, right. I hope for the same too, but then let's see what's in his fate. So, moving on to the other talented guy, which I would like to talk about, it is Satyajit Bachov, and he is a very talented spinner, and he has also been awarded by BCCI for his wicket. There was a run when he had the highest number of wickets, so he was awarded from BCCI for the same in a particular topic which I could not recall. So right now he's at the beginning of his career, but I believe he would be also turning out to be a good talent in the near future. So your takes on him after looking at his numbers and the performance highlight.
Yeah, well, bowling left arm Chinamans, that's always it's a special feat and a special skill. Especially if you look at the short form cricket, you got all the spinners that are leading the charge in T20 cricket, and being not necessarily just wicket takers, but also controlling the game, bowling in all three areas of T20 cricket now. So, if you got someone who can bowl something different as a left arm Chinaman, and then being able to have a bit of mystery and around him, and obviously, I'd love to see him bowl and see if he gives the ball a good rip, and if he does, that's obviously something that you can art. That's an art that's pretty tough to play, especially when people have to come out and try and take you on. Over here in New Zealand, bowling spin is a tough ask because we play on some small grounds sometimes, or some interesting grounds with different dimensions. But if you have a half decent ground and you've got some good control and you can get something on the ball, spinners across the globe has shown that it could be really tough in all facets of a T20 game, whether it's in the top six in the middle or at the back end at the death. Be really successful, and hence they are the top performers in that sort of space at the moment.
Great, great. So next, what I have a few questions for you, which are coming from few youngsters, probably from the cricket region of Maharashtra and specifically from my academy. And being that you come from a region wherein you have bouncy wickets and the ball is whistling through your ears, I have Ayush Pawar who is asking you a question that what would be the greatest mindset for a batsman to play the balls which are always whistling through your shoulders or your wrist, like the ball is consistently hitting your bat sticker. So you as a coach, what do you advise a youngster to go ahead and play during those kind of conditions wherein the ball is always at you and the bowler is
Yeah,
getting that
100%.
attention?
Yeah, 100%. It's a tough task, that, isn't it? You can just imagine if someone like a Lockie Ferguson or a Brett Lee or someone like that runs in and bowls really quickly at you. So for me, I always talk to batters around, what builds pressure, and dot balls builds pressure, isn't it? So if you can find a way to get off strike, and getting off strike and working together with your partners, it's such an old cliche, but it's such an easy way to try and move the pressure off yourself. You could be batting as a right hand left hand combination, so the guy could be bowling really quick to the right hander and get it right, but then to the left hander that could maybe be down leg and could be clipped for four, and there the pressure is released, isn't it? So for me, it's trying to find ways and trying to build some skill around your current game set to make sure that you can get off strike. So whether it's like Kane Williamson or AB or Kohli having the ability to run that ball to third man and get off strike, or whether it's getting in line and trying to work it to square leg or fine leg, so try and find a way for you. But then you look at the up and coming Indian players now in the IPL and how they've advanced their skills to when people bowl quick at the heads, they ramp it over the slip and over the keeper. So all of a sudden bowlers bowl a different length because they transfer that pressure back onto them. So it's probably a bit of twofold. It's number one, try and find a way to get off strike, and number two, use what he gives you. If he's only going to bowl short and at your head, then let's develop some skill around how do we use what he gives in terms of his short balls and access the ground 360.
Right. Great. Great. So moving on to the other question which I have from two girls. That is, one is Anjani Thakur and the other one is Shushti Lagur, and they both have a very similar question. Being a female cricketer, that because they are female cricketers, they don't have as much strength that they should possess as a batswoman as the males do. So, are there any specific way, or are there any kind of specific, advices of how do they build that particular power in their shots?
Yeah, good question. I've been fortunate to spend a big part of my coach career coaching young kids. So looking at young players and getting them to understand where power comes from is something that as a coach you've got to work out. Power obviously comes from your legs and having that stable and strong base, which we've all heard. But it's how do we connect the player to feel like he understands where that comes from. So look, at the end of the day, it's trying to create a language around the way you go about explaining what you want them to feel so that they can try and connect to it. So again, it's using the imagery around a baseball player and how they generate force and how they generate power, using the imagery of a boxer. When you throw a punch, where does the power comes from? It doesn't come from your fist. That's where it ends. And using your bat and your body is the same sort of thing. So how do we generate power through our body? How do we get our body in a consistently good position so that we can generate a little bit more power? But then it's also important, that they understand what sort of players they are. Not everyone can be a destructive Martin Guptill or Rohit Sharma at the top of the order. But you also don't need 11 of those players. It's important to understand that sometimes you are that player that gets that powerful player on strike. So then how do you refine your skill to make sure that you have the ability to do that consistently?
Great, great. So, final question for you, Henrik, is uh, from the kid named Vedant Villapure, and he has a question about fielding and fitness. So, with this particular, Corona situation or the lockdown situation, which is in India, what do you suggest would be a great fielding drill being at home?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, you're not going to have much space to do a lot of running and throwing at the moment, are you? So again, it's just being really clear. I think one of the key things, or one of the easy things you can do, is really figuring out when you pick the ball up, how do you get your body in a consistent position? One, to make sure you do first things first, which is pick the ball up, and then two, get in a position to again generate power through your body to be able to have power and accuracy behind your throw. Which literally you can do in a 2x2 meter square. It's getting nice and low, getting those hands out in front of you so that you can see what you're picking up, and then making sure you get into a strong position, aligning your body towards where you want to throw. So I mean, when you have more space and you have more people around, you can do all kinds of fancy stuff, but making sure you do something like that, which is a real basic, but you can do that in a low-key environment without any pressure. You build those habits, and then hopefully when you start doing that under pressure at training, first and foremost, you get it nailed, and then be able to do that consistently in a game to effect that nice little run out.
Great, Henrik. So, I believe I have already taken your time for today. So, before we conclude this session, any last, discussions or talks or advices which you would like to make?
No, look, thanks for the opportunity. It's always nice to reach out to people across the globe and talk about a cricket. And if there's any coaches out there, just make sure that at the end of the day you learn as much as you can from a varied audience, but always make sure that you put it in your pot and then put that towards who's in front of you. That's the most important part around what we do as coaches. There's no right or wrong way, but it's the only way that counts is making sure that the people in front of you connect to it. And then, just be nice and relaxed around getting back into the game of cricket. We'll have some stress around wanting to get back into it and making sure that, we don't feel behind. We're not behind. There's still a long period before we actually going to see the first ball and anger come down again. So, just enjoy the ride and you know, just be adaptable. You know, Bruce Lee said, you know, you don't have to go through the stone when you water, you can go around the stone. So, you know, nice and fluid.
Great example that you make. So, Henrik, thank you very much for your time today, and it was really pleasure talking to you. And there were really great pointers that you made, which would really help all the cricket players around the globe who are watching this particular video, and also the cricket players in Maharashtra. So, I would be looking forward for any kind of engagements which give me an opportunity to bump into you, and obviously I'll be keeping you posted and looped in as to whatever upcoming events I would like to have you with me. So thank you very much for your time, Henrik, and have a wonderful day ahead.
Brilliant, guys. Appreciate it. No worries. I look forward to getting across you guys again. And yeah, have a safe time, guys.
Thank you, Henrik. Bye.